What's up and welcome to Uncle Cyborg's Video Game Book Club. Instead of reading the same book, we all play the same game then get together to talk about it. Now, this isn't necessarily a review per se, although we might do a little bit of, critiquing in that way, but we're mostly here to unpack what made it fun, what didn't work, and why each of us had and came away with a different experience. Let's start with this, Bo. Let's just start with this. What is your history with Super Mario Bros. As a game, as a franchise, and just give me your very top level thoughts on your experience this time around.
Yeah. Well, just background wise, the very first time I ever played it was at my grandma's house, and she had like the original NES. So I played it like original hardware, and it was one of my first games. But I will say the first game that I played on before the original Super Mario Brothers was Super Mario Brothers 3.
Oh,
it's literally everyone, my dad was like, okay, no, you play this one first. And I was like, well, there's a 3 on it. He's like, no, you play that one first. because he knew it was, superior.
That's fair.
Which is fair. I mean, it was years later, so obviously it's going to be superior.
Sure.
But yeah, then I played Super Mario Brothers 1 and got, I think, halfway through my first time playing it, and that was without knowing about the pipes. And then later on I came back and beat it I think the first time I actually beat it was when the NES Online came out the first time.
Okay.
So
now playing it on the are you talking virtual console, or you mean the actual Nintendo Switch online?
Yeah, Nintendo Switch.
Okay,
online.
Gotcha. Very cool.
Yep.
Yeah, so my history with Super Mario Bros. Of course, I played pretty much every entry in the franchise. Especially these games coming to Game Boy Advance, was basically part of owning a Game Boy. Was you had all the ports of the prior Mario games through Mario Advance.
Some of the best ways to play it, yeah.
Absolutely. But also just my first exposure to video games being, even though they were kind of around and I had friends who had them, most of my first exposure to video games was from my uncle and us playing Mario All-Stars and playing Super Mario Bros. There. That was the first time that I had played the game. And coming back to do it through regular classic version, the NES version of Super Mario Bros. It's actually, I think, at a cousin's birthday party or something like that. And at that point I would have been maybe say 14, early high school. And then same with you, except I technically beat it for the first time on the Switch hardware, except I didn't finally beat it until this week, or this, I guess, 2 weeks ago now, and even beat it twice, once as NES and once as the Mario All-Stars version of it. And my experience with it this time was because I've always felt this is kind of weird. There's a lot of friction in this game for a number of reasons. Some of it is old game is old kind of thing, but there's some things that I really struggled with. I would say I was able to find the fun in it this time around, but it's different playing this as hey, let's check out and see this is fun, let's just pop it in for everybody try you playing through a couple levels here, versus hey, let's actually play all the way through this thing. But we'll be able to
use any of the pipe skips, or did you just play it straight through when you beat it?
I did it both ways.
Okay.
All-Stars, I did it without skips. For the NES version, I definitely used skips, but here's the thing, I don't know all the skips. I didn't look them up. All I did was level 1-2, hop up and then run over, go to world 4, 4-2, you do the same thing, but it just takes you to 6-1, and then no skips after that. I had to play through the rest of it regular. But anyways, well, let me start off with just some general information about this game. Of course, coming out in 1985. Of course, developed by Nintendo, but specifically Nintendo Research and Development 4, R&D 4, which is we eventually went on to become Nintendo EAD. This is the premier game making branch of Nintendo, and Super Mario Bros. Is a big reason why there. The idea, well, actually, let me come back to that in a second. Budget, obviously, not unlike talking about movies. The budget for games is not always available, but like we have some insights to it,
especially early on.
Exactly, and it is just about every expert and historian estimation puts this game at well under $1 million, anything from a couple $100,000 to about $700,000 at the very high end. So yeah, we're talking about one of the cheapest games ever made to be as successful as it is, and that estimation comes from the fact that this was a team of about 8 core developers. He had a couple more who were kind of like on the team who helped with it, but they didn't enlist outside help or anything like that. Obviously, it was, small cartridge, all the work's done internally. They're not having to send it off to folks. The director of this game, renowned Shigeru Miyamoto, is the primary director here. If you're not familiar with that name, you would know him as the creator of Donkey Kong, The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Bros., Star Fox, Pikmin, and also served as producer on a number of titles as well.
Who's ever heard of those games?
Right? The lead designers include Shigeru Miyamoto and his main man, Takashi Tezuka. And these two are like the dream team. Shigeru Miyamoto and Takashi Tezuka. Yeah. They work so many things together. They did Legend of Zelda together. They did Super Mario Bros. Super Mario Bros. 3 together. They did A Link to the Past together. They even both worked on New Super Mario Bros. And that is I don't know if they've collaborated past that, but they were basically a dream team. Yoshi's Island again. So they've worked a lot of things together. If those two were on it, like, honest, a lot of people say that Tezuka is the reason that Miyamoto had the success that he did, because Tezuka is more proficient on the actual now put it into the computer kind of proficiency in terms of designing. For Miyamoto, even though he has the chops, he's more of the director, let's find the fun and everything. Composer of the game is Koji Kondo. This was his first major soundtrack that he did, and what a banger to come up with that overworld theme that everybody around the world knows at this point. Honestly, is there a pop culture theme that is more widely known and recognized than the Super Mario Bros. Theme?
Not really.
Probably not. Now, this game came about with basically the idea of, well, for one, obviously console game was in a great space. 1983, things were bad. There was an actual crash. Really there bad. Was, well, toy stores because video games were marketed as toys back then. Hence why everything came with a booklet, instructions on how to use this thing. We don't really get booklets now. The tutorial is just baked into the game. But that's why they came with instructions on how to use this thing and all the background and whatnot. But they were going through toy stores, and toy stores were like, hey, we are losing money on this, especially in North America. They were like, we're just not going to be able to do this, guys. We're not going to keep your consoles in stores. We're not going to sell your games. We're just done. We're losing so much on this. They were like, it was just a fad. It was something that didn't work out until this happened. And Nintendo really knocked out of the park here. Their idea was to take the idea of these platformer games, because you had some like Pitfall and I always forget the name of that Pac-Man game that was out a little bit beforehand. That these were the two side-scrolling platformers, but it was very much like you still kind of take it a screen at a time. Pac-Man did a little bit more with the actual movement, but that game was kind of trash. Let's be real. People did not like it then. People don't like it now. But their idea was, hey, let's show why consoles can actually be a thing here, not this cheapo Atari way of doing things, or Activision with Pitfall. But can we actually like get this thing scrolling and moving really well without hiccups and things? That bred some limitations, and we'll kind of talk about those in a little bit. But yeah, and apparently they knocked it out of the park. If we're still talking about it today, very last thing with that is that Super Mario Bros. Was the best-selling game of all time until Wii Sports came out for the Wii, because it was that pack-in title for the console that literally just printed money. Until that time, it was the best-selling game of all time. Now it is number 9 of all time. 10 if you count Tetris, but people kind of stopped counting Tetris because of all the different ways and iterations that shows up.
Yeah.
Because sometimes things are counted, some are not. But anyways, number 9 of all time, sitting at 58 million sold. Out of curiosity, what do you think is the best-selling Nintendo game of all time? Give me number 1 and give me number 2. What do you think they are?
Ooh, I think Wii Sports is still up there. Don't think it's number 1 still.
And we're talking about just
so
for Nintendo.
Yeah, for Nintendo.
Ooh, cool.
I think it's number 2. I don't know what's number 1 though. For some reason, it feels like it got replaced by something.
So it's really close. It's gonna happen soon. Wii Sports is Nintendo's best-selling game of all time at 82.9 million copies. Okay. Mario Kart 8 / Deluxe, sitting at 79.54 million copies. I'm sure it will overtake it in the next year, because people are still buying this game.
Yeah.
Well, with that out of the way, let's actually break into our thoughts here. So, but what is it about Super Mario Bros. As a game that has made it that we are still talking about today?
I mean, you basically kind of said it with the history. I mean, it single-handedly saved video games from the crash that happened. I mean, yeah, no, I don't think any other game could have done it except for that one. Because of just how iconic it is. I mean, it literally started a whole franchise, and kicked off the NES and Famicom in like a major way. I feel like if we're talking like hypothetical, I don't know how many other games could have pulled that off, because it was very innovative for the time, with thinking of like games like Pac-Man and stuff like that. There wasn't a lot of like screen scrolling. There wasn't even really a game. There was some platformer-ish things, but it wasn't to the extent of like, this is what you're doing throughout the entire game with power-ups.
And on a console level, like that's the big thing, is like we could point to arcade stuff, but you're not going to point at something on the console level that had it like Super Mario Bros. Had it.
And I think they set up that standard, and you could even see it like throughout the years of like a console platformer was like the standard for a long time until like 3D came around.
And even through there, like the killer app for the PS1 was Crash Bandicoot and Spyro.
I mean that'd be kind of a different kind of platformer, but
sure, but we still had a console exclusive mascot platformer pretty much until like the PS2 GameCube era. But
pretty wild.
There's a reason that everybody jumped on board with it. If you had to put yourself in the shoes of somebody in 1985, you're picking up this game, what is it about it that people are latching onto? What are people experiencing that is so different? Do you think it was just a perfect storm of like having all these pieces work together? Like it's just a thing of quality, or do you think it was something about the gameplay?
I would say it was a pretty big quality step up, even from like what arcade games were at the time. Yeah, like there wasn't really arcade games that felt like that. And a lot of other games at the time were more just like it's tough to say it, but they were almost like minor distractions where it's like, oh, okay, you pop in a quarter and you play it, and like anybody going back to Pac-Man now, it's just kind of like you play it for 30 minutes and then you're done. Like there's not very many people who want to just sit there and play Pac-Man for 2 hours. Whereas this is more of an experience of like, okay, you can put the time into it and beat levels and get further, and yeah. It's just a different experience.
Yeah.
And it set that standard.
Sure. And it is a like it's hard to point at aspects of the game that were cared about this time and say that they were not great. I know we're probably going to talk about those controls in a little bit. But
yeah,
in the general
I'm praising it now,
yes.
But we're about to not.
Right. And we'll definitely get into that. But for somebody at this time, I mean, yeah, it looks great. Very vibrant colors. Versus again, we're talking about a console game here. Console games were not big. Remember we remember for folks at home, if you are not familiar with the video game crash of '83. Bo, do you know what game came out in 1982 that actually caused the crash of console games?
E.T.
It was E.T. E.T. was so bad that people were like,
there is
what are we even doing
garbage landfills with that game still in them in like places in Mexico.
Yeah,
I believe.
Like just copies and
so
copies and copies. It was absolutely insane. I mean, you were capitalizing on this breakout hit from Steven Spielberg, let's make a licensed game out of it. And it was so bad. Oh, I may have to fight you on that one. That's his best Alien movie, but I guess that's not hard to. That's not a hard feat. he's for a guy who's done 5 Alien movies, you'd think he'd have it down at this point. But yeah. But anyways, but yeah, I think the reason that it's still talked about today, I think the reason it had its success is because it was anybody can pick up and play this. We use the example of Pac-Man because you mentioned it. Now, obviously earlier I talked about this side-scrolling platformer from Pac-Man that I can never remember the name of. But if we're thinking about 2 games that had absolute breakout success into the home, it's 2 games. It's Super Mario Bros. And it's Pac-Man. And these are the games that, like, the reason that these did so well is because even parents got into these. Like, I talked to people who grew up in the 70s and are actual, like, like teens at the beginning of the 80s. And these folks, they talk about, like, their parents playing Pac-Man. Like, the kids going to bed, and then you just hear from the living room, wagga, 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 wagga. And because anybody can pick it up, it was a great time. It looked good. But again, it's still like single screen kind of stuff. So you're talking about something like you're talking something like Mario Bros. Part of the reason that that a success is just how pick up and play was. I don't think it has that kind of success if it's not pick up and play. And the tutorialization of that level 1-1 is phenomenal. I actually meant to talk about this in the fun facts, that they came back to that level. It was one of the final levels they made for the game because they were like, let's make all the fun levels we want to make, and what are the mechanics that we have in the game? How do we get them to do this at the beginning? And so they're like, well, do we want to run the game? Okay, then we're going to make a place that they can't just jump across, and they can't get out of it either until they figure out that they can run and jump at the same time. How do we get them to hit the blocks? Because they look like they're... the idea of hitting a block and something coming out of it seems so basic and obvious to us. But the environments themselves weren't always so interactable like that. Maybe like break things open in general, like hack and slash kind of things. It was like, how do we get people to bonk with their noggins the things that they're typically walking on? It was, oh yeah, well, we'll have these regular blocks here, but let's put these ones with flashing question marks on them so they know that it's interactable. And it was just perfect tutorialization that, again, you have, mom and pop seeing the kids play. So like, oh, I know exactly what's going on here. They can pick up and play it. And now, again, this was back when people didn't actually beat video games, or few people did. But yeah, I think it was the killer tutorialization is what made it work, and then it being as widely across, just excellent production value all the way through, is what made it what it is, and honestly made Nintendo what it is today. Now, here's the part that we have to start raining on our little parade here. But what is it that makes Super Mario Bros. Difficult to return to now?
Oh, by far, it's the controls. I think anybody that has played any other Mario Brothers game, even 2, I feel like 2 controls better than 1. And that's like, yeah. 1 has this really weird slipperiness to it. That's the only way to describe it, where you can't really stop yourself momentum wise. So you have to commit to that. And if you don't commit, like you almost have like this center of gravity thing that hits you when you don't quite get the jump you want, and it just boom, like you just lose all momentum and it's gone if you try to stop too early.
Right. Yeah, and that's something that in later games you eventually got the option to, okay, now you can actually go back on your jump. This is you have an amount of control, but you can't go back. It's kind of like real life physics, and people don't actually want the real life physics in it. Exactly. Well, and even in your jump, you jump forward, and you can actually press back, and it will affect your jump. It's not like your jump is exactly the same all the way through, but all it is like you could just stop your jump in the middle of your jump, and like, cool, now your momentum is stopped. You're just going to drop right down at this point. And and I'd argue that's worse. Personally,
it is worse. It feels really weird.
Yeah,
and you kind of got to get used to it. Like after you've played for a while, you'll get the feel of what you need to do to actually succeed. But it's so weird if you've played like any platformer past Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Which is too bad.
It's true. Was there anything else about the game that made it a tough return? Because definitely when we were playing through, we weren't quite as triumphal about it as we have been at the beginning of this video.
Playing the original, as iconic as it is, I will say the graphics are very simple in comparison with All Stars. Like if I'm gonna play it, playing All Stars is usually the way I played it. I played the original for this book club, and it was like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, as iconic as it is, it does get kind of grating after a while.
It's
because
true.
It is that simple.
Absolutely.
As sacrilegious as it is to say.
Yeah, it's. It's funny playing through. Is it World 6 where it's finally nighttime?
Where it's all black.
Yes.
I kind of like that stage though. It's cool.
Well, I dig it. I just remember playing through that the first time, and I was like, what the heck is up with this? And then playing it to the 3D world, in the All Stars version. I was thinking of 3D All Stars that came out this week, by the way.
Oh yeah.
We'll have to talk about that sometime. How 3D All Stars was nothing like regular All Stars. But anyways, but yeah,
I actually don't hate on that game as much as other people do.
I just expected more from it because of what All Stars was, because All Stars just took Super Mario Bros. And made it in the Super Mario World engine. So if they had taken Super Mario Sunshine and made it in the Odyssey engine, you know how hard that would have slapped. But anyways, well, you know what makes it so difficult for me to return to it? Yes, definitely those controls, those slip controls, and it kind of goes towards the whole purpose of that game. I mean, as much as it's Mario Jumpman Mario is the dude's name. Mario Jumpman Mario. despite his name, Super Mario Bros. Is not about jumping. Super Mario Bros. Is about running. It's about momentum. It's about keeping moving. And everything about the game pushes you to this. The obvious glaring thing is the timer at the top of the screen. You're not supposed to just go around exploring these areas here. You have the timer at the top of the screen, but
that was back when high scores were important to people.
Sure, yeah. And and while this like serves multiple functions, we'll talk about another thing. It serves another function, or at least has another reason, perhaps. But yeah, this timer at the top of the screen is pushing you forward. Like, hey, don't stop and smell the roses. Keep yourself moving. Yeah, this is going to go towards a high score, but it's also like, cool. This is now inherent in your design philosophy for this game. Your goal is to keep people moving. When you see the coins that are spread out in arcs and stuff like that, it's not a jump up and hit the coin there. You do have some things like that, but it is to hit this line of coins, you've got to be running to do it. It is all about keeping that momentum forward. In fact, I'll probably play some clips of my own here, where I actually had the most fun with this that I ever had. I'll actually save that for the end, when we talk about recommendations, because I found a way that I could have fun with this game. But also, you literally can't go backwards, as we alluded to earlier. Part of it is limitations, but you can technically do it on the hardware. But it was a thing of, okay, we're gonna have to work hard to make this work, that we can go backwards, or we can just continue forward, and force people to just keep themselves moving. So I think this game plays best when you are actually hauling all the way through. And you can take occasional pauses and things like that, but every time that you pause, there's a chance that you're not going to be able to get that momentum up to do the next thing that you have to do, and it can cause more problems for you by stopping than it is to just keep going through. So sometimes it really was just about finding that best line. Again, this was when people didn't always beat games. Granted, that was also a time where we're breaking away from quarter eating philosophy of video games, where this was the start of, like, maybe we do want people to beat games, but it wasn't necessarily a concern at this time. Well,
yeah, I don't think it would be a concern yet at this stage.
Yeah. Now, this being about running would not necessarily be an issue if it weren't for the way that the game feels. I know at that time, those controls were considered precise compared to anything else in that platforming area, and felt so fast as well. I mean, play Pitfall and play Super Mario Bros. Back to back, and you tell me which game feels better to play. Yeah. Which game feels like you're actually moving. That momentum is crazy, but it's not good now. Super Mario Bros. Is the worst version of Super Mario Bros. Because it was their first try at it. They've only gotten better at it. As you already said, even the Lost Levels is a little bit better. I still don't like it, because it still has roughly the same control.
Is a different beast entirely.
Yeah, because you still have the same control system. You just have a little bit more in terms of ideas. But there's a reason that was never going to work in North America. Agreed. But you go and take Doki Doki Panic / Super Mario Bros. 2 here in North America, and I understand they're not exactly one for one. In case any nerds are in the comments down below saying they're not the same game. But anyways, they might as well be. But anyways, so even by that game, it had changed a lot. You play as Luigi in that game, and suddenly, I can actually hook around and things like that. You have different types of playing as Peach and Toad. They all feel mechanically different from each other. It was a huge step up. So Super Mario Bros. Is just the worst version of Super Mario Bros. Again, it was their first go at it, but it was exactly what they needed at the time. It didn't need to be more than what it was. And honestly, it pushed things forward. It got people thinking a bit more about honestly, the tutorialization is a big thing, but also it's got clear intention baked all the way through it. That stuff is great, but yeah, those controls are tough, and honestly, the level design is very primitive. I mean, you're talking about people, this This wasn't things where they were making it in engine or anything like that when they're designing the levels. They were writing levels down on pieces of graph paper and just drawing them out.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, handing it into the guy who'd actually put it into the computer and turn it into something actually playable. But
Wild.
Of this whole team that worked on Super Mario Bros, there was only, and we're talking about at most 10 people. We're talking about 2 or 3 of them actually working on a computer. Everybody else is just, designing on graph paper, which is crazy to think about. We would never hear about that today, but it's a different time. But anyways, again, Super Mario Bros. Fantastic, but still the worst version of what Super Mario Bros. Is. But anyways, do you feel like there's anything that modern games and gamers could learn from Super Mario Bros. By playing it today?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that kind of leads into my overall thought of the game. And I think from a historical standpoint, this game is that's what this game shines at, is historically setting that milestone, really making those mechanics something that people could actually see and work off of. I think for people who appreciate that, that's the kind of thing, and it has that legacy. Like I was telling you before we started recording, my brother had never played Super Mario Brothers before, and he just wanted to play it just because he'd heard about it. That's the kind of legacy I think Mario Brothers has, as setting that milestone, and everybody knows it, and everybody wants to see, okay, where did this all begin? What basically essentially started console gaming and gaming where it just come to now. It's a very legacy game.
Sure.
But with that legacy holds so much grief. For a lack of a better word to put it. I mean, even my brother, when he played it, it was, he quickly learned, okay, this is why, he had played Super Mario Brothers 3 before. He was like, oh, okay, this wasn't even a thought in their head yet.
Yeah.
And that's why this game, is what it is. It's a very much a learning experience of okay, this is what they concocted, essentially.
Sure. Yeah, I feel like the biggest takeaway is honestly an approach, and I feel like you get this from so many Nintendo games, is if you can nail down the approach to things. But this kind of crushed on a directorial standpoint. It's why Miyamoto is the GOAT to so many people. But it was the idea of, hey, we are making this game with a purpose. We have something that it's not even necessarily putting pen to paper for a story and saying I have something to say. This is more, we have something we want people to do. What do we want people to do here? And they nailing down what they needed to get that point across. The idea was, you're fast, you're running, you're moving. How do we show off the speed of this console, that it is parity with arcades? How do we make it actually fun to be moving so quick? And how do we make people hesitate when maybe they shouldn't, or learn to get past that and get those things worked out? And everything kind of flows nicely into one another that way. The tutorialization is a masterclass. There's a reason that level 1-1 is playable in so many museums across the world. Just because of that. Like you said, the historical recognition for sure, but also they did nail so many things that they needed to do from that. But just because it was a great game then doesn't mean that's the easiest to play now. So as we wrap this up, what would you rate Super Mario Bros. On the Uncle Cyborg scale if it came out today?
I hate to do this, but I think if people are honest with themselves I think looking at it now, this game is a 5 out of 5. And
Or
that's
5 out
for
of 5 or
many-
5 out of 10?
or 5 out of 10. Sorry, 5 out of 10. No. um, yeah, looking at it in a modern perspective,
Mhm.
I mean, there's so many games that have done it better. I mean, even Super Mario Bros. 3 it wasn't that many years after, and they nailed it. And it's still really playable today. Whereas this game, it's got a niche of people who really like it, and you know, they'll say it's their favorite. I don't know if they're kidding themselves or they're just nostalgia baiting, or I don't know. It's a great time for a limited time, which to me is the classic definition of a 5 out of 5 game, where, you know, you can still have a good time with it, but is it going to stick around? No.
Yeah. I feel you on that. And is there anyone that you would recommend it to?
I think it's really good as like a learning experience. Kind of what I was saying before.
Hey kids, see what
like,
they used to
I
be
could
like.
yeah, I could see like showing my nieces this game,
Sure.
and like they've never played a Mario game. This could be a fun like first one for them if they've. I think they maybe actually have played it now. I'm trying to remember, but yeah, it's an interesting experience for somebody who's never played a game before. And even just somebody who's never experienced before, it's a very historical, like, you know, I think everybody should pick it up at least once and play it, even if it's for like 30 minutes, just to see what it was about. And then if you really like it, you can go ahead and beat it. I'm not gonna join you in that room, but you have fun doing it, man.
Yep. Now, I will say that I'm gonna. My take might be a little overly nuanced than needs to be with this.
That's fine.
Because I look at this and I say, if this came out today, and I jumped, or I started running back and I kind of dipped back, and the momentum moved in that game like it did then, I would stop playing. I played worse games. What was that game I played just for a cheap platinum? Something on the prairie.
With
Little Adventure on the Prairie, something like that.
Little Adventure on the Prairie.
That had worse platforming than Super Mario Bros. For sure. Like, there's still games that come out with worse platforming, but if I did a jump and I moved the way that I did in Super Mario Bros., I look at that 5, unsatisfactory. And I would say that's definitely unsatisfactory, but I think I would go to the point where I would say, if your game moves like that, it is a bad game if it came out today. So I think I actually would sit on it, despite everything else it does so well. I would say that Super Mario Bros., if it released today, if I'm being totally honest, I would say that is a bad game. However, there's still so many good things about this game. There's so many things that they do nail. They do things well, but it's just, by today's standards, games should not move like that. We should not be moving like that anymore. And I feel like that's why I can't, even though there's so many things that I want to say that are good about it, that are like, there's still things in this game that are great. Especially if we're looking at design philosophy and stuff, but like you said, as a history lesson, this works really great. There is actually a group of people that I would recommend this to, and it is how I actually found enjoyment out of this game, to where I actually do move back up to a 5 with this.
Okay.
And that was my plan.
I was wondering if you were going to go to a 5, and I was like, oh no.
So I do come to a 5 with this, where I think it's unsatisfactory, but it's redeemable. Bad, I would say that's not redeemable. You can't, like, bad is you have to scrap and you have to do something different.
Yeah.
This is unsatisfactory, which is still for that main reasons, because of the way that it moves. But the reason I go to unsatisfactory is because I think there actually is a group of people that this is good for. If you have ever thought about getting into speedrunning, this is the game to start with. Absolutely.
There's a lot of speedrunners.
The way that I found my fun with this game, and granted, I'm playing on the NES Online, and I have the rewind feature. No, I wasn't just rewinding 2 seconds back to not die to whatever thing it was. I was rewinding to the beginning of each level every time that I died, and I would not progress until I actually beat the level without dying. And that was how I reset everything. It was always, nope, I'm resetting back to the very beginning of the level. I'm going to make it all the way through here. And that's where I actually found the fun in this. And then when I came back to those later, I had a pretty good feel for it. I still didn't like the way that it felt. I still think this game is rough. But I think there is very much a group of people to play for. So if you've ever wanted to get into speedrunning, this is a good game to do it. I would say this is maybe the best entry point for speedrunning. And see if you can get a sub 15-minute time on Super Mario Bros. Find those warp pipes. Get used to the timing on your spinning flames and stuff. See if you can jump under one block but over Bowser by getting the right timing and knock those out there. But see what you can do with this, because that's where I feel like for someone playing this game today, that's where the value is if you want to do something like that. And of course, like you said, just for a history lesson. But if you want to spend more than 15 minutes with this game, then that's probably the best use case I can give you for it. But that is going to do it for this episode of Video Game Book Club. Next time, 2 weeks from now, or is it 3 weeks? We might have an extra... No, it's 2 weeks from now. It's 2 weeks from now. Yeah. We're going to be doing Super Mario Bros. 2, and we're doing the North American version. We're not doing Lost Levels. I don't know if at any point we're going to go to that, to be honest. Probably, but we are definitely going to do Super Mario Bros. 2, which was actually the first Mario game that I ever owned. So that'll be fun for me. Granted, I played it as Super Mario Advance, but anyways.
That's cool.
But this will be a good time for y'all. Actually, I think that would make it... Actually, no, it was actually the second game that I ever owned. I had one game first that was Madden for the Game Boy Color. But anyways, point is, I'm supposed to be saving this for next time, right? So hey, if you enjoyed what you saw here, click subscribe if you want to see more from us. Because it helps us out. Comment as well. Let us know what your thoughts are on Super Mario Bros. If you played it recently, if you would recommend it to anyone, and if you think that we are terrible for giving it 5 out of 10. But that is going to do it for today. I've been Super Nolan Man. That's the Hyrule King, and you can have a great week.